This video is going to show you how to make the base for the geometric pegboard. It's going to be a little longer than most of them. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select New Part. I'm going to click the picture above, Start 2D Sketch. I'm going to choose the XZ plane, the flat one. I'm going to use the rectangle tool because the first thing I have to do is actually draw the bottom, the base. So I'm going to click here and here. Then I'm going to click Dimension, and it's a 7 by 7 square. So I'm going to click Dimension for the width and type in 7. I'm going to click on the word top so it recenters it all in there. I'm going to click on my height and change that to 7. Then I'm going to hit Finish Sketch, and I'm going to extrude it to 0.675 and hit OK. Then I'm going to click Start New Sketch because the first thing I have to do is I have to put in the circle holes for the circle pegs. So I'm going to click Start 2D Sketch, and then I'm going to click on the top of my base here. Right, and then the first thing I like to do is I like to hit Project Geometry and click on the top of my base to bring those yellow lines out so that I can actually see where I'm drawing to. Then I'm going to use the circle tool and draw 4 circles off towards the left. Alright, doesn't matter the size as long as you have 4 of them. Then we're going to dimension those circles. We're dimensioning, the first thing we want to dimension on those circles is the diameter. So I'm going to click on a circle. I'm going to change it to 0.875 and do that for all the circles. Alright, then I have to dimension from each circle to the left-hand side of my base. So I'm going to click there, and that's going to be 1.25. And I have to do that all the way down, and this is really what lines them up. And I like to put them all at the top there so that I can see a nice straight white line there. And it just keeps it a little cleaner. So then the next thing to do is to dimension from the top circle to the top of my base. And I'm going to come over here, and that's 1.25. And then I go from each circle to the circle right below it. So, and that's 1.5. So from that circle to that circle, and then this circle to this circle, 1.5. And then this circle to this circle is 1.5. And on your paperwork, you're going to see a measurement here of 1.25. You do not have to put that measurement in. If I put that measurement in, it actually yells at me. And I can either hit cancel or accept. If you really want to be able to see that number, you can hit accept, but it doesn't matter. You can't actually change this value. So if this value is wrong, that means one of the other values up above is wrong. So you need to check those numbers out to make sure that those are all correct. Alright, but I know that I'm ready to move on because all of my circles are blue. So I hit Finish Sketch. And then I'm going to hit Extrude and click all of those circles, making sure I hit the circles and not the top of the base. Then I'm going to come to this little blue printer guy and choose Cut. And if you look at your paper, it tells you to cut 0.5. You don't want to cut all the way through, just half an inch. And then I can hit OK, and I have my circle holes. Next, I need to draw my rectangle holes, so I'm going to hit Start 2D Sketch and click on the top of my base again. Alright, I like to turn it so that everything's lined up like it is in the pictures. So then the next thing I do is hit Project Geometry. I'm going to click the top of my base so that I can see where my circles already are, so I can see the edges of my base, that kind of thing. Then I'm going to draw rectangles, alright, and they go long ways. So I'm going to draw them long ways. It doesn't matter how big, because you're going to dimension them later anyways. Alright? So then we hit Dimension, and the heights of all of them are going to be 1, so I'm going to start with that, because that's an easy number to type. That's just why I do it. So all of these are 1, and then the width is 0.625, so I'm going to click that and type in 0.625. 0.625. 0.625, and it's important to make sure that you get all the numbers right, because otherwise you're going to have a hard time when it's time to assemble these things together with the pegs. So now I need to dimension the rectangles with the rest of the board. So I'm going to click on the top of my top rectangle and then the top of my board, and I'm going to make that 0.75. Then I'm going to go from the bottom of the top rectangle to the top of the second rectangle, and that's going to be 0.5. So we're just changing the distance between each of these. Alright, and that's 0.5 all the way down, the distance between the rectangles. Okay. And then just like the circles, if you really feel the need to want to see this number, make sure that it matches the top number up here. Alright, you can do that, but it will yell at you when you do that. You can either hit cancel or accept. And so then you'll notice I'm not all blue yet, so I know I'm not done, because I still have to go from the left side of the rectangle to the left side of the base, and that needs to be 2.5. Now mine, they were already lined up. If you notice, they all turned blue. They line themselves up. Actually, I think I lined them up when I drew them. So if yours turn all blue, then you know you're good. If two of them turn blue, then you know that those two are good. Sorry, I really meant to silence my email. So if you still have some green here, you still have to do this. You have to go from one side, the left side of your rectangle to the left side of your base and make it 2.5. Alright, I don't have to because mine automatically line themselves up. So then, once they're all blue, I hit Finish Sketch, I hit Extrude, and I click all four of these rectangles, making sure to hit the rectangle. You want that part to turn white, not the rest of it. Alright, so I'm going to click those rectangles, click the blue printer to cut. My number is already 0.5, so I hit the green check mark. And now I'm done with the rectangle holes. So now it's time to move on to the triangle holes. Now I'm going to hit Start 2D Sketch. I'm going to click on the top of my base, and again it twisted the wrong way. So I'm going to turn it so that my circles are over here and my squares, so then I can draw my triangles right there. But in order to see that and know where I should be putting the triangles so that they're close, I'm going to hit Project Geometry and click the top of my base just to show me those lines. Then I'm going to use the polygon tool. You can use the line tool, but there's a couple of extra steps in there, and it's just so much easier to use the polygon tool. Polygon tool makes it equilateral, so that all sides are equal, which is what you need anyways. So I'm going to hit the word rectangle here. I'm going to come down to the very bottom where there's the polygon tool and click on that. The little box is going to come up and say, how many sides do you want your polygon? Since we're drawing a triangle, how many sides does a triangle have? I hope you said 3, because that's how many. So I'm going to type in a 3, but I'm not going to click done until I'm done drawing my triangles. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to click once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and then I can either hit escape or done, and I've drawn my triangles, but they look really bad because they're all off-centered. Now, if I see the word top right here and it's readable, I use this button. But because my word top is sideways, I'm actually going to use this button, and it's going to make the bottom line of my triangle go straight. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to click the bottom of my triangle, and it straightens it. Click the bottom, click the bottom, click the bottom. You want your triangles straight so that they line up when you get your final product done. Alright, then I'm going to hit Dimension, and I'm going to go from the top of the triangle to the line opposite it at the bottom, the one we made straight, and I'm going to make that distance 1. I'm going to do that for all these triangles. So that they're all the same size. Alright, then I'm going to go from the top of each triangle to the left side. So I'm going to go from there to there, and it's going to be 4.375. I'm going to do the same thing with this triangle from the top point over to the side. Sorry. Making sure that when I click the top point, it's turning white. Alright, I don't want the whole line, I just want the top point. this is lining them all up with each other. So you know you're doing it right if they're lining up with each other. Then I have to go from the top point of the top triangle here to the top of the base, and that needs to be 0.75. Then I go from the top of one triangle to the bottom of the one above it, and that's going to be 0.5. Notice they're turning blue as I do this because they're getting put in place so that they can't move. Alright, so I've done that to all of them. I've gone from the top point of one to the bottom of the triangle above it to make it 0.5. And again, if you want to go from the bottom line of your base to the bottom of your bottom triangle and make sure that it's the right measurement, it'll match the one at the top. Alright, you can do that, but it will yell at you, and you can hit cancel or accept. It's up to you. So now they're all blue. They look lined up. Alright, they look to be in about the right place, so I know that I'm doing it correctly. So then I hit finish sketch. I hit extrude. I click all 4 triangles. I choose the cut button. It's already at 0.5, so I hit OK, and I've got my triangles. So now on to the squares. I'm going to click Start 2D Sketch. I'm going to click on the top of my base. Oops. Try that again. I'm going to turn it again because it decided to go the wrong direction. I'm going to hit Project Geometry and click on the top here. Alright, and then I'm going to use the square tool, so to get, or to the rectangle tool. So to get back to the rectangle tool, I hit the word polygon and go to the rectangle 2 point. And I'm going to draw some rectangles. It doesn't matter the dimensions, because you're going to tell it how big to be later. Okay, so then I hit dimension, and I'm going to make the sides of each of these 0.75. We'll talk about that. So I did the width and the height of both of them because they're both the same. So width and height, width and height, width and height. And then now they're all square, so that's good. So now I need to dimension. Actually, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to click on one of these heights and drag them over so they're back on my base. It helps make things easier if you want to click and drag them. Mine are nice. They move together now. They've lined themselves up on the left-hand side. Even though I didn't do that, they did it. And so it should make my life easier later. So now what I want to do is hit dimension. I'm going to click the right side of my rectangle, or I'm sorry, my square, and then the right side of my base. And then it's 0.625. I don't know, you have to check that number. I'm not sure about that number. And then I go from the top of my top square to the top of my base. It's 0.875. Again, check the number because I'm not sure I'm right. Then the distance between each square is 0.5. That's probably not right. 0.75, I'm sorry. And see, I can tell because they look like they kind of line up with the others. So that's what really helps me know if my numbers are correct or not. And so because they look like they line up, I'm probably right, but I'm not confident, so you need to double check your numbers in your packet for all of these. I don't have the packet with me, so I can't guarantee that the numbers I'm using are the actual correct ones. Alright, so now I know I'm done because all 4 of my squares are turned blue. Okay, now that doesn't mean I'm correct, but it does mean that they won't move anymore. Alright, it'll yell at me if I try to dimension it anymore. So now if they look like they're lined up, I don't have to change any numbers, so I can hit finish sketch. I can hit extrude and click on all 4 squares. Choose the cut option. And now, all I have to do now is change the material. I think I said in the packet, I'm not sure what I said in the packet, but I do want it some kind of wood. Okay, and these are all different types of wood. And so I think I may have said oak. And so there's the oak, makes it look like wood. Alright, I go up to the eye, I click save, I make sure that I'm in my flash drive, and I change the name, the file name down here. I call it what it is, so it's the base, so I call it base. And then I hit save. And that's it. Your base is done. Once you and your partner are both done with the pegs, you're ready to move on to the final assembly.